In the next few minutes, you're going to learn more than 20 common English phrases all about panic, searching, and sweet, sweet relief. And the best part, you'll learn them all from one simple story about a student who is frantically tearing his house apart to find his lost homework just moments before he has to leave for school. By the end of this, you won't just know what these phrases mean, you'll actually understand how to use them yourself. Ready? Let's get into it. Story Part 1. The morning sun streamed through Alex's window, but a cold dread crept over him as he glanced at the clock. 7:30 a.m. He had to leave in 30 minutes. As he grabbed his backpack, a terrible realization began to set in. His history essay, the one he'd spent all weekend perfecting, wasn't there. It dawned on me that I hadn't seen it since last night. My heart sank. He was officially running out of time. It was a true race against time, a frantic battle against the clock to find the most important assignment of the semester. Wow, what a stressful start for Alex. Let's break down the useful phrases we just heard. We'll look at each one, I'll explain it, and I'll give you another example so you can use it with confidence. First up, we heard, "It dawned on me." This phrase means you suddenly realize something. It's like a light bulb turning on in your head. Often, it's for a realization that happens slowly and then, all at once, becomes clear. In the story, Alex's realization wasn't instant. It grew until it was undeniable. "It dawned on me that I hadn't seen it since last night." My heart sank. Here's another example. "As I was walking my dog, it dawned on me that I'd forgotten to lock the front door." Next, you heard, "My heart sank." This is a super common and powerful idiom for a sudden feeling of sadness or disappointment. Just imagine your heart literally feeling heavy and dropping in your chest. That's the feeling. In our story, when Alex realized his essay was gone, we heard, "My heart sank." For another example, when I saw the email with the subject line, "Application Update," my heart sank because I was sure it was a rejection. The third phrase was "running out of time." This one's pretty literal. It means the time you have to finish something is disappearing fast. It really creates a sense of urgency. With only 30 minutes left, Alex was definitely running out of time. Here's another way to use it. We need to make a decision today. We're running out of time before they offer the deal to someone else. Next up, we have two very similar phrases, "a race against time" and "against the clock." I'm grouping these because they mean almost the exact same thing. Both describe a situation where you have to do something very, very quickly in a limited amount of time. You're basically competing with the clock. In the story, Alex's search was a true race against time, a frantic battle against the clock. You can use them in lots of situations. For example, the paramedics were in a race against time to get the patient to the hospital. And for the other one, the development team worked against the clock to fix the bug before the website launched. Panic began to set in. Alex decided he had to turn the house upside down to find that essay. He started in his bedroom, emptying his backpack onto the floor. Nothing. He tried to rack his brain, thinking about where he could have possibly left it. The house was big, and the essay was just paper. Finding it felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. He decided to retrace his steps from the night before, determined to leave no stone unturned. The search is getting chaotic, right? Alex is clearly starting to panic. Let's look at the next 5 phrases that describe his frantic search. First was, "turn the house upside down." This fantastic idiom means you search everywhere for something in a very thorough and often messy way. You don't literally flip your house over, but it might look like you did. Alex knew he had to turn the house upside down to have any hope. For another example, my mom threatened to turn my room upside down if I didn't find that lost library book. Next, we heard, Rack my brain. This means to think incredibly hard about something, to desperately try to remember or solve a problem. Imagine putting your brain on a rack and stretching it to get the information out. In the story, Alex tried to rack his brain to remember where he last saw his homework. Here's another one. I had to rack my brain to remember the name of the actor in that movie. It was driving me crazy. The third idiom was a needle in a haystack. This describes something that is almost impossible to find, usually because you're searching a huge area for a tiny object. A haystack is a massive pile of dry grass, so finding one little needle would be nearly impossible. The story says that finding the essay felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. You could also say, finding your friend in a massive concert crowd is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Next up is a really practical one. Retrace my steps. This means to go back along the same path you came from, hoping to find something you lost or remember something. You're literally retracing the steps you took. Alex decided to retrace his steps from the night before to find the essay. Here's another example. I think I dropped my keys in the park, so I'm going to retrace my steps and see if I can spot them. And the final phrase from this part, leave no stone unturned. This means you will do everything humanly possible to find something or achieve a goal. You will search in every single possible place. This one has a cool origin from an ancient Greek story where someone was told to look under every stone for a hidden treasure. Alex was determined to leave no stone unturned in his search. For example, the police promised to leave no stone unturned in their investigation. You're doing great! We've already learned 10 powerful phrases. So let's take a quick pause to practice. Pick one phrase we've learned so far, like my heart sank or turn the house upside down, and write your own example sentence in the comments below. I'll read as many as I can and give you some feedback. He went back to the living room where he'd watched a movie. He checked under the sofa cushions. Nothing. He went to the kitchen where he'd grabbed a snack. He even looked in the refrigerator. A sinking feeling started to grow in his stomach. He knew checking the fridge was a shot in the dark, but he was starting to grasp at straws. The memory of finishing the essay was on the tip of my tongue. He could almost see himself doing it, but the location was just out of reach. Then he remembered something about his dad's briefcase, giving him a glimmer of hope. The desperation is real. He's looking in the fridge. This part of the story gave us 5 more excellent phrases. Let's dig in. First, we heard a sinking feeling. This idiom describes that growing feeling of dread or anxiety that something bad has happened or is about to happen. It's similar to my heart sank, but it often describes a feeling that builds up more slowly. In the story, Alex got a sinking feeling as his search kept failing. For another example, I had a sinking feeling when I saw the flashing lights of a police car in my rearview mirror. The next phrase was a shot in the dark. This refers to a total guess or an attempt that has a very low chance of success. You're shooting at a target you can't even see. Alex knew looking in the refrigerator for his homework was a shot in the dark. Here's another example. I didn't know the answer to the final exam question, so I just took a shot in the dark. Our third phrase is grasping at straws. This means you're in such a desperate situation that you'll try any solution, no matter how unlikely it is to work. Imagine falling and trying to grab onto thin pieces of straw to save yourself. They won't hold you, but you'll try anything. Alex was truly grasping at straws by looking in such weird places. Another example, he tried to argue that traffic was the reason he was 2 hours late, but his boss knew he was just grasping at straws. Next up is one you've probably felt before, on the tip of my tongue. This is for when you know a word or a memory, but you just can't quite recall it in the moment. It feels like it's physically right there, ready to be said, but you can't get it out. For Alex, the memory of where he put the essay was on the tip of his tongue. A classic example, what's her name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. And the final phrase from this section is a glimmer of hope. A glimmer is a small, faint flicker of light. So this phrase means a tiny, faint sign that something might turn out okay after all, especially in a bad situation. Alex felt a glimmer of hope when he remembered his dad's briefcase. You could also say, the doctor's report wasn't good, but it offered a glimmer of hope for a new treatment. He ran to the hallway where his dad's briefcase usually was, but it was gone. His dad had already left for work. The hope vanished. But then, out of the blue, his mom called from the garage. "Alex, why is your history textbook in the car?" He sprinted to the garage, and there it was, plain as day, sitting on the passenger seat. Tucked inside was his essay, safe and sound. He let out a sigh of relief. It was the light at the end of the tunnel. His stressful morning was finally over. He found it. What a relief. That final part of the story gave us our last batch of phrases. Let's explore them. The first was out of the blue. This means something happened completely unexpectedly, with no warning at all. Imagine something just falling out of a clear blue sky. It would be a total surprise. In the story, his mom's call came out of the blue, completely changing everything. For example, I hadn't heard from my old friend for years, and then he called me out of the blue last week. Next, we have a sigh of relief. This one is exactly what it sounds like. It's that deep exhale you make when something you were worried about is finally over and you can relax. In the story, Alex let out a sigh of relief when he finally saw his essay. Here's another example. When the plane landed safely through the storm, you could feel the whole cabin breathe a collective sigh of relief. Our third phrase is plain as day. This means that something is incredibly obvious and easy to see or understand. It's as clear as daylight. When Alex saw the essay on the car seat, it was plain as day. You could also say, the answer to the puzzle was plain as day once I looked at it from a different angle. Next is a wonderfully comforting phrase, safe and sound. This just means to be free from harm or danger. We often use it to show relief after we've been worried about someone or something. Alex was so happy to see his essay was safe and sound in the car. Another way to use it, after the storm passed, we were relieved to find our house was still safe and sound. And our final phrase, light at the end of the tunnel. This idiom refers to a sign that a long, difficult period is finally about to end. Even if you're still in the tunnel, the hard situation, you can see the light, which is the end of the trouble. For Alex, finding his homework was the light at the end of the tunnel. In a different context, after months of unemployment, the job offer was the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, now that we've broken down all 20 phrases, let's put it all back together. I'm going to read the story one more time, from start to finish. This time, listen closely and see how much more you understand. The morning sun streamed through Alex's window, but a cold dread crept over him as he glanced at the clock. 7:30 a.m. He had to leave in 30 minutes. As he grabbed his backpack, a terrible realization began to set in. His history essay, the one he'd spent all weekend perfecting, wasn't there. It dawned on me that I hadn't seen it since last night. My heart sank. He was officially running out of time. It was a true race against the clock, a frantic battle against the clock to find the most important assignment of the semester. Panic began to set in. Alex decided he had to turn the house upside down to find that essay. He started in his bedroom, emptying his backpack onto the floor. Nothing. He tried to rack his brain, thinking about where he could have possibly left it. The house was big, and the essay was just paper. Finding it felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. He decided to retrace his steps from the night before, determined to leave no stone unturned. He went back to the living room, where he'd watched a movie. He checked under the sofa cushions. Nothing. He went to the kitchen, where he'd grabbed a snack. He even looked in the refrigerator. A sinking feeling started to grow in his stomach. He knew checking the fridge was a shot in the dark, but he was starting to grasp at straws. The memory of finishing the essay was on the tip of his tongue. He could almost see himself doing it, but the location was just out of reach. Then he remembered something about his dad's briefcase, giving him a glimmer of hope. He ran to the hallway where his dad's briefcase usually was, but it was gone. His dad had already left for work. The hope vanished. But then, out of the blue, his mom called from the garage. "Alex, why is your history textbook in the car?" He sprinted to the garage, and there it was, plain as day, sitting on the passenger seat. Tucked inside was his essay, safe and sound. He let out a sigh of relief. It was the light at the end of the tunnel. His stressful morning was finally over. And there you go, over 20 essential English phrases, all from one simple, relatable story. We had phrases for panic, like "my heart sank" and "grasping at straws." We had phrases for searching, like "turn the house upside down" and "leave no stone unturned." And we had those wonderful phrases for relief, like "a sigh of relief" and "light at the end of the tunnel." Your job now is to take these phrases and start using them. Try to use just one or two this week, either in a conversation or maybe in your writing. You did a great job today. If you found this lesson helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. For your next step, you can keep learning right now by watching this video on common phrasal verbs for everyday life. Thanks for learning with me, and I'll see you in the next lesson.